This video it will explain how to simplify an expression where you find multiple signs. For example, like these. Sometimes you get an expression where you have two signs on either side of a parentheses or two signs in front of a number, and here's how we can do it. In order to simplify, we have to remember the rules of multiplication of signed numbers. Those negative signs act like a switch, turning the negative value of the number on and off. So I have a -1 times -3. My answer is negative times a negative, +3. If I have a 1 times a -3, in this case, +1 times a -3, one of each sign, that will be a -3. If you're unsure about these rules of multiplying with signed numbers, you should go back and watch that video first, because that is the rules. Those are the rules that we will use. It's a pretty simple rule. A negative number all by itself, for example, here I have in 8 plus -3, I have a positive multiplied by a negative. Positive times a negative is negative. So to rewrite this, I could write 8 minus 3. Strongly recommend that you actually rewrite them rather than trying to think it through in your head, because most likely you're going to run into an expression like this in the middle of a larger problem, and so you'll have a lot of things to keep track of. In the second example, I have an 8 minus a -3. Remembering that parentheses mean multiplication, we have a negative times a negative. A negative times a negative, it's like canceling itself. It doesn't exist. So this would be 8 plus 3. Negative times a negative, making a positive. Here, 8 minus a +3. Negative times a positive will be a negative. And then 8 plus 3. Well, that's not too tough, because a positive is a positive. Is a positive. My answer is 8 plus 3. So I've just gone through and rewritten each one of these, a simplified form. I still haven't got them completely simplified. If I have 8 minus 3, my answer is 5. 8 plus 3, 11. 8 minus 3 again, 5. 8 plus 3 again, 11. Now I'm going to show you a second set that's a little more tricky. So once I've written problems, you can always pause, give a chance for your own self to solve them, and then watch to see how I solve them. This set, a positive times a negative, is going to be rewritten as 3 minus 8. A negative times a negative will be rewritten as 3 negative times plus 8. Let me back up and solve this first one. If I have 3 minus 8, my result is going to be negative. I'm looking at combining a +3 value with a -8, and the 8 is a greater value, so the answer is going to be -5. And you can go back and watch the video on adding and subtracting with signed numbers to see more explanation of this. 3 plus 8 is 11. A negative times a positive is going to be 3 minus 8, just as it is here, -5, and then positive times a positive. That's the easiest one, is 3 plus 8, and there we go, 11. Let's put up one final example. So here's a nice long one to give you a good reason to take notes instead of just trying to do it all in your head. It says 7 minus -4 plus -1 minus -12. So I'm going to use my algebra technique, and rather than moving left to right, I'm going to rewrite it below. So let's see. And just to highlight, these are the signs that I'm going to be condensing to make this more simple. A 7 minus a -4. Well, minus is positive, so this will be 7 plus 4. plus a negative 1, a positive and a negative remains negative, just one negative sign there. Another negative and negative combination ends up being positive. So this very long and confusing looking expression now is reduced to 7 plus 4 minus 1 plus 12. And actually I can just do that moving left to right. 7 plus 4 is 11, minus 1 is 10, plus 12 is 22. If it was trickier numbers, for example, if I had negative 7 plus 4 minus 1 plus 12, in that case I might group my negative numbers. All right, so this is separate down here. Negative 7 minus 1 would be a negative 8. Combined value of a negative 8 plus 4 plus 12 would be a combined value of 16. And then 16 minus 8 would be 8. But that's a little off topic. This is really what we want to remember today. Thanks for watching the video. And, oh, I didn't write the answer up here. But anyway, if you like these videos, please like me on the YouTube.